Hey guys, what's up? It's Kevin here with Mix Coach. Hey, a few years ago I did a tutorial for a friend of mine and an assistant of mine named John. And I showed him how to mix orchestral music on a song that I was working on. Now the resolution is a little bit low on this video, but the content I think is great. I think you're going to love it. I went ahead and took all the middle sections out to where you could just watch the whole thing from top to bottom. And I hope you like it. Let me know in the comments, okay? Thanks. See you guys. Hope you enjoy it. Bye. Okay, so we are sitting here and I'm going to show John how I write an orchestra. I'm a fan of the less is more thing. So this orchestra, you're always going to need two horns. English, the strings are where the most of the tracks are taken up, and the dot L dot R wears me out. When you can ride something with one fader and you choose to do two, it takes up a lot of real estate, and you probably should rethink that. Yeah, so, and there's a lot you can do too. If you need to process them differently for some strange reason, you can still do that. You just have to use the plugin differently. Do you know how to do that? You split a dual mono, like a multi-mono, I think is what they call it. So here's what we're going to do first: is we're going to let's take a snapshot of this with these track settings, just so we can come back to this, and I'm going to call it default or something like that. Default Kevin, and we're going to do well, not selection, but none, and we're going to do zoom properties, track show and hide, especially the heights, group enables, and we'll just do that. That way we can always come back to this snapshot here. Now what I'm going to do is hold the option key down and turn everything off basically. And then we're just going to work on the strings right now. So I'm just going to highlight all of the string guys and the harp, because I think the harp was cut at the same time too. Yeah, especially these rooms. Okay, so now that's all the strings, correct? Okay, now I want to pay attention. I know you've taken a lot of time to route these things, but all of these look like they're going to string, and they look like everything is pretty much at minus 7.9 now. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the end here. It's going to place the tracks that I insert after the end, right? So let me backtrack just a little bit. I'm a fan of less is more. So just because we recorded all of the violin, the close mics on the violins, doesn't mean necessarily that we need them. And I was telling you about the puppy dog close a while ago, the puppy dog method. That just says that as long as you have an out, like when somebody says, hey, just take this puppy home, and you don't want the puppy, and they say, just take it home for the night. Well, overnight you fall in love with the puppy, and they give you an option to bring it back, but you never do. So let's do the puppy dog close on this. Whereas let's take all of these individual violin tracks and viola tracks, and let's deactivate them right now, and just see what kind of sound we get from the room, because really the beauty of an orchestra sound is the room. And this person's room actually sounds, every time I've used it before, sounds really good. So what we're going to do is we're going to use only room sounds, and we're going to add these tracks back in as we need them. So I'm seeing a trend of 3 passes, it looks like, with 3 room sounds. Okay. So let's take all of these tracks now that we've got them. That's violin through bass, violin through bass, violin through bass. And then I'm just going to take all these tracks here, and I'm going to hold the control key down, which I think means it does everything at once, right? And then I'm going to hide and make inactive. And it's going to deactivate all those tracks. Probably what I should have done before I did that was grouped all of the room mics, because now I've got to do two things at once. Now what I'm going to do is just, you know what, I'll just leave them just like this. Now I'm going to pull, well, I didn't mean to do that, but we can, you know what, it must have had the older selection in there. Yeah, so we'll step on our tail a little bit here and reactivate these rooms here. So I'm going to select, and then I'm going to select all of these, and then I'm going to reactivate these. Okay, now what I want to do is create, he did 2 room passes per pass, which means we should create 2, 4, 6 stereo tracks, correct? So right here I'm going to create new and then do 6, and you showed me a shortcut to do this, which was pretty cool, and then I'm just going to hit create. Let's just call them room 1, room 2, room 3, and then
So we'll have twice as many, but then that's fine.
yeah, let's just say room 1 and then room 1 space. How's that? That way we'll know room 2 and then room 2 space. That way it'll appear that we have the same name, but we don't. Okay, now we've got these named. I'm going to go here and I'm just going to drag all of these guys straight down to their room tracks. Okay, and then I'm just going to erase these because we can correlate these back to the right passes. And now it's not as cluttered. I'm going to go back here, and I think you may have had a group. Let's go ahead and do it. That way, and you had 7.9 or something like that. So now we've got all these room mics here, and we can listen to them, repan them if we need to, space them out and stuff like that. But we should get the bigger sound of the room, and we've got it on 6 faders as opposed to how many faders was it?
It was 20.
At least 30 faders we've got contained into 6 faders. Now, if we ever needed to say, you know what, we need a little bit more definition, what we could do is we could take first violins and second violins from the first pass, and then viola and cello from the second pass, and then contrabass from the third pass. That way we get definition, 3 passes. That may or may not make a big difference or not, but at least we'll get close mics from 3 different passes. So anyway, so that's where we are on that. Now let's go back to this, and let's go back to this default now that we've got all of our tracks in. Oh, one other thing we should probably check is routing. Oh yeah, we need to do harp too. Let's do this. Let's do let's do a stereo track of harp, because it's really kind of useless for us not to do that. So I'll grab these, pull it down to the harp track, and then I'm just going to erase these tracks here. I need to confirm the routing. Now, let's see. Oh, this near stereo and far stereo is a choir, right?
Yes.
I'm going to turn these out of this snapshot that I went back to. I'm going to turn these. And I'm going to turn these on. And I'm going to turn the harp on, which I think that's right there, yeah. Now let's go back and just, I'm going to highlight these so that they'll be easy to see on this side. And then I'm going to route all these guys to the string bus. So now we should be back in the original place here. We have all the strings here, so let's take a listen. Let's go up here where they're actually playing. So now by doing this, we've done a couple of things. We've taken some of the complication out of the mix, some of the pitfalls that we could easily take by doing a mix this big, and we've left ourselves a way out. And second of all, we've eliminated, if you want to get technical about it, we've eliminated a lot of phase smush, by using mics that were probably placed to be complementary to each other. You know, so Now what we can do is let's just start listening. And let's since we're going to start writing the stuff, let's take out the vocals. And this is the reason I'm a big fan of bussing things, the way we bus things. Now we can just mute the vocals with one click, and let's see, so that will eliminate everything but the band, which is exactly where we want to mix this orchestra. Because I told you before, if we mix the orchestra on top of the vocals now, the orchestra would be dominant. So what we have to do is start subtracting stuff until we get the orchestra in the slot it's supposed to ride in. Right. That way, our ears will naturally make it ride. And probably since there's only 3 songs on this record that have orchestra on it, it's probably good that we feature the orchestra a little bit, because the conductor, Wayne, is going to want to hear more orchestra. We paid a lot of money for the to get the orchestra on there, so the whole album is going to benefit a little bit from saying, hey, that's legit, So anyway, but we don't want it to overtake the choir, because it is their project, not the orchestra's project. So anyway, so we're going to start taking stuff down here and start listening to the mix. Okay, let's just start by I'm going to eliminate from our view what we should do is take another snapshot of this view here. Same thing, and I'm going to call this let's see, I'm just going to call this default 2, or default or how's that? Okay, now what I want to do is I want to eliminate everything that I don't need to see right now. No drums, no drum reverbs, no piano, no B3, nothing but start there at the flute, gong, chimes, and the room. I don't want to see choir because I'm not listening to it. And all this would be scary on a mix this big if we didn't just save a snapshot. Yeah. So now what I'm going to hold the Control Option Command and down key, and that'll resize the window so that we can, if it'll fit everything. Here's another thing we could probably eliminate up here is some of the buses that we're not using, like drum verb, string verb. I'm going to leave in, instrument verb no, vocal verb I'm going to leave those in, but I'm going to take out instrument. Yeah, and we'll recall this in a little bit. I'm also going to take the master fader and the click out. So now I'm going to resize the window, and everything's on one screen now because there's no scroll bar there. So what we're trying to do is eliminate everything. When we get into the mix mode, we don't want to have to think about math stuff. And how do you unview that? We just want to think about, the ears and the hands. Basically, that's what we want to connect, and not the brain. So now let's see. Now let's just start off by since we got everything. There's a couple of other things that we could probably do too. Well, let's do one more thing here. The timpani left and right. Let's do a stereo track of that too. And I'm doing all this before we get into the mixing process, because and also this is the beauty of doing templates and importing mix settings and things like that. This one here. Did I just bypass it?
There's 3 tracks.
Oh, there's 3 tracks of timpani?
There's a center timpani and then left and right.
Well, I'll tell you what, then let's don't create a group then.
Okay.
Since I thought it was 2 tracks.
He had those set up that way whenever they were.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. One last thing let's do is just make sure that in this pass there's nothing going to 1 and 2, because that's one of the things. If you ride something, I'm looking here to make sure nothing's routed straight to the outputs, because we're going through buses. That's how we've got a lot of this mix set up. So it looks like everything is set up the way it should be. There's nothing more frustrating than getting something written perfectly in there, and then you realize that, if I run it through the bus, it's going to be 3 dB lower. Now we're going to get kind of a rough mix of just listening to it, just kind of rough everything in. And I'll probably use these buses over here toward the top just to kind of true everything up. I'm going to pull the horns out for a sec. Okay, so that's completely without orchestra. So what I want to do is let's see where we can see where. Okay, okay. No, that one verb. That's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. A lot of people would probably want to do different verbs because you can, but like I said, I'm a fan of if you don't have to do it, don't do it. An orchestra in its natural state is in one room. So let's do one room. Now you may want to adjust, like if you're looking at an orchestra, the percussion's in the back, strings are on the front. So if you're standing as the conductor, you may want less strings on the verb, but that's in theory. Really, the bottom line is whatever sounds good is good. So.
And I like the idea of sending like the bus to the verb.
Yeah, and it takes away some of the work of that needs more verb. Well, instead of 6 faders, you got 1. Yeah. So we're just still roughing things up. Let's go. I've got woodwinds and brass up there pretty good. Let's go right here where the percussion is playing good, like right in here, and then let's kind of ride that in. The bass drum sounds big, doesn't it? Okay, to me, I think that the orchestra, all the elements, you've got brass, you've got woodwinds, you've got percussion, and you've got harp. To me, if you mix all of those elements together, and then strings are the glue that is the mortar between the bricks. You can have the mortar sticking out of the bricks a little bit or sitting back from the bricks a little bit, but to me it's kind of the foundation of the string. So that's why I don't have strings in there yet. So the woodwinds, the little thing, I want to make sure that what we may do, I think I want to do a little, well, we're still getting everything routed in here. Let me pull the strings up a little bit and show you how this kind of more starts to sound like an orchestra. What I want to be careful to do is watch my gain stage in here. I don't want to get this up here, because if I want it to be below, even if I have to adjust everything else, like pushing the orchestra up a little bit. Okay, so everything's kind of. Did you see the faders just jump? Have you already ridden some faders on the?
Rode some of the horns, rough.
Well, for the sake of demonstration purposes, let me kind of show you. I'm going to take a look at the automation. Let's do a save as, just in case you ever wanted to. And what do you want to call this? And that'll be the one we're working on now. So I'm just going to erase this data here, and then we'll go back. Okay, so now that we've got everything kind of glued in here, or okay, so now we've kind of got everything roughed in. There's no automation getting in our way. What I want to do now is just start taking these sections apart. Not the sections, but the yeah, the horn section, etc., things like that. I want to start taking those apart. Let's mute the strings, mute the percussion, and mute the brass, and let's just listen to the woodwinds for a second. And let's make sure that it's a decent mix between all of those. So let's find a place where it looks like the English horn only played in the beginning. So we won't worry about that right now because he'll be separate anyway. So let's find a place where everybody played, and then let's just will it loop? Let's loop playback here, and then that way we can listen to it. I'm gonna pull it up a little bit more drastic. Tell you what, let's do too. Let's take the instruments and the drums. Let's show those so that we can mute them for a second. So I'm going to take now we're just listening to woodwinds. Now what I like to do, I know this is not like technically the way an orchestra is, but I like to take each section and make each section a stereo instrument, so to speak. So instead of, I mean, it probably purest, like if this was an orchestral piece, yeah, you would want to pan it like an orchestra sits, like high strings on the left, low strings on the right and the front, and then, you know, French horns on the left and brass on the right and woods in the middle, and then percussion in the back across the whole back. But this is Nashville, and this is kind of what kind of you know, these kind of records tend to expect, or I tend to mix them. I shouldn't say it's the right way or whatever, but let's listen to this section and let's look at the where's that? Looks like we don't need a whole lot of. Okay. Did you?
No, it's in touch right now. So the automation.
Oh, hello. I'm going to pull these in the order of like the two flutes will be together, etc. Again, I'm trying to eliminate the having to think about anything. Right. Oboe, English horn, okay. So the way I guess I'm thinking about this is like we've got a trio of woodwinds, or a duet of woodwinds, and then we're adding the flute, because the flute is kind of the loudest, most hearable thing. I add that in last. I want to make sure that I can hear the underdogs here first. Because the flute will dominate anyway. So add that last. And I'm just going to take the flutes and pan them out a little bit so that it's a nice little stereo field. And then, so we got flute left and right, and these three here. Let's just kind of, looks like you've kind of, let's just take this guy and well, you know what, let's just pan them like this. I don't know how they're supposed to go, but again, eliminating the brain thing where it's like the one on the left is left.
The English horn doesn't play very often. Like it only plays at the beginning. I think it doesn't play.
Okay, so let's put him in the middle, and then let's do this left and right just like that. Yeah, that makes sense. So I'm trying to get it to where it's that thing on the left.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go, well, that's panned right though, so it must be, you know what I mean?
I gotcha.
Any of that stuff you can eliminate, the better, the more flow your mix is going to have to it. So it sounds like we pretty much got. Okay, that's everybody there. Everybody there. So we've got a rough mix of the
Right.
woodwinds. So let's do the same thing with the brass. I typically don't do a whole lot of processing unless I need to on the orchestra, except for trombones.
The trombones.
Trombones.
The
But,
trombones.
trombones, mainly what I do is compress them
Okay.
because they are the girth of the horn section. And if you can keep those up in your face,
Yeah.
and I usually do EQ the trumpets because they tend to sound thin. But he said he used cornet, right?
On this song, yes, he
So
recorded the flugelhorn.
a flugelhorn is a little bit more meaty than a trumpet, but a trumpet usually needs a bump around 150
Okay.
to make it sound not so piercing.
Okay.
So anyway, so let's mute the woodwinds and let's listen to the brass and let's find a good section where all of the brass is playing, which is pretty much all the way through. Okay, in my opinion, the bones are the foundation of the brass section, that and the tuba. So let's get those mixed first, and then let's add the trumpets as to not be overtaking.
Okay.
EQ and whatever we have to do to make them sit right on top of the trombones, and then the French horns are the beautiful part. That's the pretty dress on the horn section. So we'll put that in last because psychologically, whatever's last is loudest,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm gonna take this group off too. There's the pretty part. And the French horns, I usually like to pan those left and right, hard left and right. It just makes this nice orchestra thing. Okay, so we got. I can't read those words. What is that? Bone 1, 2, 3, and 2 trumpets. 3 bones and 2 trumpets, right? So let's listen to the bones. Things like that right there, where they really dig into it, they run away. Okay, here's another little.
Compress that, or we want to automate it down, or
We'll probably compress it because, for like I said, anything if we can make it sound natural, let's do that. Because here's a little tip for you. We always adjust to what's loudest, right? So if somebody says the snare's too loud, they make that call on one hit usually.
right.
So if there's a trumpet, I mean, a lot of times when you're mixing, you say, man, that snare's too loud. So you sacrifice the snare volume, the snare track overall because one of them was loud. So that's the beauty of compression. Do that. And also that's another little thing sometimes I'll do on orchestra is sometimes I'll trigger the kick and snare because they will get lost in the mix, and you always make a call on the loudest hit. You sacrifice the rest of the track for that one hit. So try to think of that to where you can fix that one hit so that you can keep the track up. So sometimes I even trigger drums because of that. Let's take these 3 horn tracks here, and I'm going to, I just like to go to the default SSL thing, and let's take one. Well, we must be using a lot of plugins. It's having to reroute stuff. Okay, so let's solo one of the horns. First thing I always do when I EQ something is filter it first. That's a French horn. What in the world? Okay, so let's move. Let's just move these over. See, that's when I start getting into the... You can't hear anything down here, so we're getting rid of air conditioner vents and... Okay, I'm just going to copy this over to these three. So I've got that mix like basically that's a trio. So 3 parts taken care of most of the time. And then here's the loud tenor singers here, the trumpets. Let's do those as a kind of a stereo pair too. And let's see if we need to... These cornets really do sound good. The thick, they're... Yeah, they do. Let's make sure the tuba is nice. I'm just going to copy this tuba over one of these bone settings to the tuba, and let's look at it. So what we're doing is taking it apart, fixing a little part at a time. We're not letting anything get, because if you thought about, 30 tracks of strings and all these tracks of, you'd get overwhelmed with it, and your brain would start to shut down. But if you look at it like this, we're basically mixing these singers that are singing different parts. And they're such a key part most of the time. So let's take and let's compress these two. I'm going to solo one of the horns. Make a little makeup gain there. Okay, so Yeah, it's subtle. If you think about it, what we're doing here is we're really kind of replacing what we lost when we lost tape. Because tape actually has that natural compressing thing. It makes things sit in the track more. So using gentle compression like this, or even a tape simulator, would really benefit things, especially orchestra. Because you know you've got the volume right, but stuff don't cut through like it should. That's usually what that is. So now we've got the brass written. Now the only thing I want to check here is just to make sure that nobody's riding above, and it looks like they are. So I'm going to turn the group back on, the brass group, and yeah, and then yeah, until I'm not. I want to give myself enough room to push something up if I need to, yeah, without making it, you know, distort. So I'm going to pull this down, and what I'll do is I'll make up for it over here. And if I still don't get enough, see, that's down a good bit. So this is nice blend of the brass. Okay, now I'm going to mute the brass and let's listen to the percussion, because it seems like the timpanis weren't loud enough a while ago, and the big bass drum was nice and big. Gong, chime. Let's see. Bass drum. Let's find a place where they're all playing. That looks. So timpani left and right. Let's just go ahead and make that hard. You know, one of my favorite mixers, Crystal Rauch, says that there should only be 3 pan positions: hard left, center, and hard right. Now that's a little bit drastic, I know, but I kind of tend to go that way some. It's like if you're going to pan it, you know. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's see, what is this? Kind of a toys track or something like that? It's a oh, Piatti. Is that pretty much?
You just called those the percussion track for some reason. Whenever I was listening to it, I was thinking maybe it's a stereo pair of everything, but really it's the cymbals. That's all.
Okay, well, here's something that might be different here. Looks. So I think this is kind of everything else. Let's do this. Again, what we're doing. Yeah, he's the extra guy. So what we'll do is let's see what this is here. That's pretty much Piatti and chime. So let's name it that, so that again we're disconnecting the having to think too hard. Yeah. So. And let's find a place where the gong is playing here. Nice. And bass drum. It would help if I soloed the bass drum. That's big. It sounded like an 808, didn't it?
It really did.
What if it was?
Maybe it looks like it is. The wave looks like it's an 808.
I can see that. It's not a pure sine wave.
Yeah. It's not perfect.
Maybe the 808 is a sample of this.
Yeah,
So, okay, here's one thing about the low end stuff. Low end stuff eats up your headroom really quick. So what I'm going to do is stick a compressor on there and also I'm going to eliminate a lot of the low stuff, because I don't want it completely eat it up. So what I want to do is let's just play this a couple times.
that's how you control it.
Be sure to hear it. We may even align him a little bit, because it seems like he's a little late. And here's another thing. I'm going to do split and channel out for the, that way we're compressing after this, correct? A bit too much. You can tell when you go too far. Okay, so it sounds like that's under control. Let's listen to. It's a nice roomy sound. I mean, it sounds like a bigger room he did it in. He'd be smart to have a big room like that. Okay, so same thing here. Let's look at the percussion. What was that? Pitch? Oh, P out of time. It looks like pitch, which would be true. So let's take this and make sure that it looks like the gain staging is pretty good there. And I think the percussion over here in the group is down a little bit too, so we're in good shape there. So now we've got percussion, we've got woodwinds, we've got brass. Let's look at the strings. So let's mute the perc and open the strings up. And this is where we decide. Oh, let's say strings and harp, since I'm gonna mute the harp for now, because the harp is kind of like the loud younger cousin that can get on everybody's nerves, but can crack a joke at just the right time too. So. Do you notice anything that's kind of light in that mix?
That's light?
Yeah. Seems like the low strings, the contrabass. It's low strings that we need the most of, right? So see, that's the beauty. That's the puppy dog close for you right there. Let's take the bass tracks, just the bass tracks, and let's reactivate those. They're going to the string tracks in that way, and let's do a left, center, and right thing, even though bass is not so left-righty sort of thing. And then let's add that to it as we need it. So we've got those sitting here, but we're not going to use them yet. Let's figure out which room sound we favor. One is definitely warmer than the other. So let's do these three room sounds. Let's go over here so you can see. These three room sounds. Okay, let's mute those and let's see. There's definitely some phase in there. You hear that? You hear it completely change? This is why you shouldn't use that many string mics on this, because we're talking about two sets of stereo strings that are causing phase. Can you imagine what 20 or 30 mics would cause? The subtle difference that it would be. So I would almost opt to use one set of room mics. Yeah, instead of two. Like I said, being simple and minimalist approach to it is just because we have two sets of room mics. Let's pick what we like and use it. See if they sound good together. See if if we can invert the phase and make it sound better. But if we don't need it, if it's not adding to it, we don't need it. So let's listen to the. If you needed to.
But I would almost rather go with less is more.
Yeah. So, but I'll tell you what. Let's listen and let's listen to. Let's do this. Let's add a little plug-in here. Let's add a one-band EQ. That way, with one click, we can invert the phase of the whole track. Okay. So let's add the warm strings in, and I've got this on the not so warm track. Okay, that's the two added together. I'll flip the phase and see. Let's listen to mono too. It definitely, to me, it definitely fills in a little bit more when one set of strings is out of phase with the other. But you know, I think I said this first pass was warmer a while ago, but I think it's because I think it's because the low strings are louder. And since we're going to have the contrabass in there, let's just take this first set of room mics out. Let's eliminate them, and let's just use the second set of room mics. I think that's going to be the best bet. It's a better blend, and we may want to experiment with this phase with the rest of with the bass tracks. So let's listen. Okay, I'm gonna put it back in mono, and let's listen to. I've got one set of strings here. I want to hear the contrast with the bass. To me, that one's a little bit out of phase. Is a little thinner to me. That's watch what I'm doing to see if you can hear the difference. That sounds more full. I don't know. Yeah. So I think the phase is good because adding a phase inversion is not as good. So let's go with that. So now I feel like that's a pretty good blend of strings. One other thing about strings, real and fake, a lot of times if you can warm them up a little bit, not by adding low end, but by taking like 2K out, just a little bit of 2K. So I'm gonna go to the string tracks here, and let's. Well, looks like you've got some EQ on it already. Yeah, this is filtered a little bit. Okay, listen to this little, especially right there. You can hear the. That's where they get annoying right there. That's where the you hear the rosin on the bow, which is the difference between a fiddle and a violin to me. So I'm gonna take just a skosh out of that. A little smoother, yeah. Another thing I'm going to do too is like you got it compressed just a little bit. That's the way I like to compress things on this SSL compressor. A real high threshold and a low compression ratio. So that way you're compressing more consistently, but not as much. Okay, to me that's starting to feel real. You know, that's gelling pretty good. And look, we're down to 6 tracks of strings total. And it sounds just as full, right? And this gives you an opportunity, when you strip it down to minimalist like this, it gives you an opportunity to really look at phase, because you would never do phase checks on 30 channels. You just wouldn't. But if you get it down to the room sounds, which is kind of the key thing, you can. And then if you have to add the other things, then if you check it against this, you're sure, you know? Which is what we've done. So let's listen. Now let's listen to the harp. I'm going to solo the harp real quick. There he is. think I'm going to compress the harp just a little bit. It's not that I always do it, but anything that's as dynamic and as key as a harp is, because the harp is like, it's a really nice little feature. And sometimes when you want to feature it, as Crystal Dowd says, if you want to crank it, you better spank it with the compressor, which I like too. And the harp too is like you think of it like a piano. It's got the range of a piano almost. So anytime you've got a full range like that in an orchestra, you want to make sure that you got the low end clean. So listen. A lot of the cool stuff that happens is not low. So I'm going to filter it just a little bit, just to make sure. And then let's do this too. Okay, so let's ride that in with the. It doesn't like those little short passes, does it? So harp with the strings. Sitting in there okay. Looks like the gain staging is good here. So now that we've got all the sections submixed now, right? So now we can go here to the buses, and this is another argument for using buses like this. You could probably use a VCA group if you wanted to, but if I want to throw a compressor across something, like across the strings like we just did there, you can't do that with the VCA group.
Right.
So for the sake of having a system, and I don't know, you know some of this stuff already, but for the sake of having a system, I like to say I default to boom. You know, I don't use VCA groups because I didn't, that's an option that I don't need. So this is what I do as opposed to that. Plus I can just throw a compressor across it too if I need to. Okay, so now we've got the orchestra. So again, let's take the strings out, mix everything together. Woodwinds are in there. You see what I'm talking about? The brass, the trunk, the bones are carrying the. It's like that's the foundation of it, and the meat of it, and the ornate stuff is the French horns and the trumpets are the. That starts to sing. Kind of smooth, and so now we shouldn't have to. Well, we shouldn't have to, but a lot of times, if I really want to knock it out of the park, here's what you do, and I'll show you how to knock it out of the park because I want you to have every advantage you possibly can. Here's what we've done so far. We've eliminated what we don't need. We've done rough mixes to each section, and we've EQ'd each section to make every section stand as if it were an instrument. So it's like a piano with one note too loud. We've kind of eliminated that as much as we could. Now, if you really want to knock it out of the park, go back to these individual tracks here, mute what you don't need. So let's start with the woodwind. Turn off the brass, and we're just listening to woodwind. And now we can go to these sections, like right here, and let's listen to it with the band in. So I'm going to turn the instruments back in. Now he's representing the whole orchestra right there. So let's make sure that you know there's an orchestra in there. So what we're going to do now is go to these tracks and start doing rides on these tracks. Individually, these are like you're taking the group of stuff that we've got rough mixed, and we're going, okay, this guy's featured. Let's push him up. Okay, and we're doing like section feature rides, I guess you could say. And then what happens is then you go back to the buses and go, make sure that everything is final. Yeah. This is a really good leverage of your attention right here. So because you're going, okay, if the orchestra was only the woodwinds, would the woodwind section be happy that instead of it being lost in there somewhere? Like I know I played a a lick right there. This way you're giving yourself an advantage to the producer too, to go, yeah, the woodwind played something that, yeah, and you know it already, which creates a lot of social proof for you. And this is psychological stuff, but you're doing your homework because you know this track. That's what we're doing right now, and this will only take, I'll bet you in 30 minutes we can have this whole thing done, and you can listen to this orchestral arrangement and go, he brought up everything that needed to be brought up. Because nothing is more embarrassing to me, I guess, than for somebody to say, yeah, the flutes played a lick right there and I can't hear it. And I go, I don't know, they played a lick. And the best way you can find to do this is leverage your attention by going, okay, if the woodwind were the only thing playing right now, would they be happy with this mix?
Right.
Then you can make up for it later. So let's do that real quick. We're listening to the mix with the drums and the instruments, and then we've got everything muted except for the woodwinds. So I'm going to go here that I can ride the woodwinds, and I'm going to put them in a section to where I can easily find them. And we'll put the English horn in automation. In mono. Okay, and the cool thing about this is you don't have to listen to the whole track a bunch of times. You can see exactly what we're doing here. There's a little on top. Let's keep it rolling. Try that one more time. Did you think that he should cut off? Here's things you notice too, like down he hits a 7 and the piano resolves to a 1. So here's one thing. So why not? You see, if our job is to make the next guy look better than he is already, this is where you can make that happen. We could probably do a big crossfade and be good. Yeah, so it worked fine. So okay, there's a feature there, so we may not have gotten this, but we're going to get it now since we're concentrating on it, you know. Okay, so now we can start. That's the only place he played pretty much, right? So now, why not? Since he didn't play again, why not just take him and hide him for now? Let's just hide that track. That way there's 3 tracks or 4 tracks. Yeah. Another little thing I'm going to do. I've got it zoomed out to know that that's just bleed right there.
Right.
So yeah. it's not completely necessary.
Right.
It's just when something's getting featured like that,
Right.
if you can eliminate some
And I would rather
phasey
have,
stuff.
I mean, obviously, yeah, that mic that was right on it was, positioned for that
Right.
instrument. So.
Yeah, so I mean, anytime if it's a section, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. If it's featured, why not? I mean, it's easy, and you're listening to it, so your attention. So. Okay, let me show you another little trick here. You can't see this on the screen, but let me flip it over to where you can see it. Let's see, here's the clarinet, oboe, and the flute, and the second flute. Watch the meters here. I'm going to clear the meters. When you have a big section like this, set it up to where you can view your meters post fader, so that when you push the fader to the top, it goes to the top, right? And use your meters to help you mix this kind of stuff, because they will tell you the truth. So watch this. Watch these four here. That's what I'm riding. I'm going to ride these faders here so that nothing's sticking out. And so when the little oboe happened, yeah. So. Sloppy, and I wouldn't normally write it like this. I would normally write it looking at this. Right. That way, that gives me, and I can see what's coming up too. So. So anyway, I'm not going to get too anal because we're zoomed in so close right now that even if we get it pretty good, the end result is going to be really good.
And so
the investment of your time right here is good, and you shouldn't. I don't think I would spend a whole lot of time writing things like this because it's already going to be good because we're zoomed in so close to it. So I'm not going to pay too much attention to that. If it still sticks out when the whole orchestra's in there, then yes, let's go take a look at it. But I'm going to continue to ride this now that you know exactly what I'm doing. Whatever that is. They're right there. This is the voicing thing. Same thing in the other instruments too. See, that would have been completely lost right there, I think. That flute would have been completely lost right there. I'm just gonna, and since it is a feature, I'm just gonna, just mute it, and then pay attention to this. probably playing that with another instrument. I'm going to do a... Let's get them up a little bit more right there. So I'm going to go and mute the woodwinds, bring up the brass, and we'll do the same thing. We may do a trombone ride, and then the foundation thing, but you know, maybe we don't need to do that. Little things like that. Let me turn that brass sub off. It's just the, yeah, I think that's just leakage, it looks like, the bones. So let's do, looks like all that was done in one pass, so I'm just going to mute that for now, and then here's another psychological thing I can tell you real quick. When you're doing rides like this, did you hear how the horns kind of snuck into it? So no matter how much we pull up the volume, the horns will never be loud enough if we don't get the attack of the horns, right? So listen, when I push the...
So you'll bump it at the beginning and pull it back.
Right, exactly, exactly. Now watch when I pull the horn up. Well, that'll probably be loud enough now. Probably wouldn't hurt to, you know, when we ride the master with the buses, that'll be louder then, because we're almost out of headroom here.
Right.
But anyway, psychologically speaking, if you can get the attack of an instrument up, you'll hear the rest of it. Yeah. And this looks a little noisy here. I'm going to mute that. Same here. Okay. So now let's go and run the rest of the... Okay, let's do this. Because the horns are so close in texture, and sometimes it's hard unless you have a really experienced ear, which I don't, I guess, as far as that goes. I don't mix orchestra every day. So what I want to do is take it apart even a little bit more. Let's ride the bones, and we don't have to be a rock star on each individual one because they are additive. They will add up to be something really good. I'm going to mute the horns for now, and I'm going to mute the trumpets for now. And we could possibly Yeah, and I'm going to leave the tuba in. I'm going to pull. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pull the tuba in, and I'm going to mix him as if he's a low bone, because sometimes you can replace a trumpet with a bass bone. So I'm gonna ride those together. So all those faders are in. I'm gonna watch the meters here on my board. Bones and tuba. Let's pull those down so we can see them, and I'll let you see the automation too. Riding the bones. You see how hard I'm pushing the brass? Let's go and readjust the subgroup up, because I feel like this still needs about another dB or so. So let's pull the subgroup up a certain amount. Since we haven't done anything, it's 2 dB right there. So let's go up to 0, and let's do this too. I want to do this. This is one of my favorite little things here. It's a limiter, but it's really musical. Okay, now I've got pure volume there, and it's going to help me ride this. Now I'm going to pull these faders down. What I'm going to do is start riding these again and get them comfortable to where they should sit in the mix the way they should. And then I'm going to do a feature in that I think you only get in HD. It's called right to end. That way all my rides I just did will be good, and then I'll just pick up where I left off. Okay, let me put it in trim first, and then I'm going to pull up this here so you can see when I do this. Yeah. I'm adjusting them now where they should be out here. Now I'm just going to hit the automation right off, and then it will write that relative to everything else. So I should theoretically be able just to pick it up here and. Well, I'm going to start here because that's where I started losing it. I'm going to go ahead and put it in, take it out of trim and put it in right. yeah, down he got a good last breath. So anyway, so let's just spot check, since there is a trend going up, but the song is progressing too. So let's another thing to keep in mind too is this brass here that we did. Limiter we got pretty. Yeah. To me, here's what I think. I think I need to go back to where I was. Make this right here. Play right here, listening. That feels good to me right there. So I'm going to turn. Let's take these four guys right here. I'm going to take it out of this brass group, and I'm going to make this another temporary group here. Let's see, this. I'm going to take these four guys here, and I'm going to make it a group, and just call it to be erased, TBE. And then I'm just going to use this as a, well, I showed you a while ago, the right to end. The bridge is where they started to get out of the pocket a little bit. So I'm just going to ride the brass relatively now on the faders, not the I wait and ride the bus master last. In a perfect world, you never would ride those things. Those would be always the fine tweaky things at the very end of the mix where somebody says, can you turn the brass up a little bit, and you go, you nudge the fader and you're done. So let's do these rides on the faders themselves. Let's see, how can I find that? Okay, so I'm going to put these in trim and going to ride these down. We're at the end of the song. So I'm down about 3 dB. And we'll ride it again. So now the bones should be sitting in the track good. So what I'm going to do now is leave the bones in and add the trumpets, and we shouldn't have to ride the trumpets as much because the trumpets they stick out when they need to stick out, you know, and they're nice and warm in the track. So let's just listen to those. I'm going to erase this automation on the trumpets because I don't want to automate those. If anything that doesn't need to be automated, don't. So let's look. Exactly. Do everything offline that you can. So let's just put that in read right now. And it's blended with the trumpet. It's going to be nice there. We'll go here to where the track's a little bit heavier. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the same thing with the horns for now. Well, I'm pretty sure the horns are going to have to be ridden because they typically do. They're pretty dynamic. So I'm going to unmute the horns, and let's take a look at those two. We've already ridden some here, I think. Okay, now let's go here where the horns start to really appear in the track. And these are like the bows in the hair of this horn section, you know, the prettiness of the, in my opinion. And maybe a little out front. toward the end of that little staccato thing, I'm going to pull it down. Beautiful. So now when you mix the French horns last like that, I mean, typically in a horn section, you know, the French horns have the pretty ornate, you know, the rips and things like that. So going back to that theory I have of mixing the last thing is the loudest. I mean, we've done that. We've mixed the foundation, or the chordal part of the brass section, and then we've done the brighter part, which is the brass stuff. They don't do a ton of stuff, but what they do tends to naturally come out because they're trumpets. And then the French horns are the kind of the understated thing that just makes it beautiful. So we've done that. Now, if this were just a brass section, it would be a good mix of the brass section. So we only have a few minutes left, so what I want to do now is to mute what we've worked so hard on for so long, and let's see, I'm going to mute the brass section, and then the percussion section is a different thing. I don't think that it really needs to be ridden so much as it's just spot checked, because percussion is like, here's the percussion section we're looking at here. Let's blow it up a little bit, and you can, so that you can see the little things here. And then let's just go through here and make sure that solo it. I think he was talking on his cell phone or something there. I can't really tell what he was doing. Yeah, it's very subtle in it. So let's do that. We've got the percussion unmuted. Everything else is muted. Let's go and see if we can find what he's doing. Yeah, it's a little mark tree. So let me unmute this, and since we know what this is, let's make sure that we can hear it in the track. Let's make this mark tree player's mama proud by having him loud enough in the mix. I'm going to turn the automation on. It's still subtle. I just applied another principle by putting the attack up, because if you notice, we never could get him loud enough until we pushed the attack up, right? Okay, so let's see what this is. That sounded good. I'll leave that alone. A little gong. Probably the only thing that's going to need to be automated is this toy track up here, the piatti, chime, bells, and whistles and stuff. sure the chimes are good and loud there. And I think what I'm going to do, since that's chimes and only chimes, I'm going to do this HD function again where, you know, I write to end. Yeah, so I'm going to pull the... Yeah, so that'll probably be fine throughout. This looks like the same thing. This is the Piatti throughout. So now, since he's playing Piatti pretty much to the end, that's the only different part. The rest of this is Piatti. So let's adjust this. Might have gone overboard just a little bit. So now when that's good and loud. Now all these Piattis here in the middle, I'm just going to highlight those. Could come up just a little bit, you think? So I've got two options here. I can either, this is what anybody can do in Pro Tools, the right number is how much you're going up, the left number is the true value of the number. So I'm just going to pull it up maybe 0.7 of a dB. So now here's the beauty of this. These are timpanis all the way through, and they have no automation written on them. So if the conductor comes in and says, can we get more timpani throughout, you don't have to really think about it too much. You just pull the timpani up, right? Okay, so I feel pretty good about the percussionist, or the percussion tracks. Now, let's check one more thing. Let's check the gong. Okay, now that we know what it sounds like, let's listen for it in the track. It's a pretty weird instrument. I think we should probably feature it a little bit more. So let's just adjust the gong without having to automate it. So let's push it. Okay. Let's take the gong and pan it a little left. That way it'll be out of the way a little bit. Keep in mind too that for the people watching the video, we have been listening from almost the very beginning of this in mono. So we're hearing the worst case scenario of blend, and when we listen to it in stereo, it's probably going to be, we're probably going to be so impressed with ourselves that we go take a lunch break. Okay, the percussion is all but written. I'm going to add the strings now. Now, since the strings kind of glue the thing together, I usually ride the strings on top of the rest of the orchestra. Loudest is last. So let's listen to right now a blend. We don't have any of the subgroups, woodwind, brass, percussion, or strings written right now. And you can see in this, there's no automation data in there. So that's set for us to fine tune things. So it sounds like a mixed orchestra now, and I don't think you could really do much wrong with the strings at these points because but I'm going to do a passive writing the strings. Okay, so let's just take these guys here, and I want these grouped together so that they'll be together. So I'm going to do a little trick here. I'm going to drag these above the harp, and it'll drag them all together, and then I'm going to drag them back below the harp, and that way they're all grouped together now without me having to do a bunch of mouse. That's the group of just the strings. So I'll probably ride these strings because I like to ride them here and leave the master, the bus fader open. So now let's just do a pass with riding the strings. I'm going to put them over here so that they'll be easy access. So on my whatever's blue is what I'm seeing on my faders here. So this is the beginning of, so I just want to put them left on my boards so that I don't have to think about where they are. So I'm going to highlight these, pull them down, and then show you the automation I'm about to do. Go to the next section here. Strings should really benefit from a good soaking of reverb. Fast forward to this part. You know what? That's one way to do it, but let me tell you another way. If you really want to, like, grand slam home run, knock it out of the park, you will ride the strings by themselves, and I'll tell you why. A lot of orchestrators write real fast climbs on strings, glissandos, I think that's what they're called. And applying the attack principle, if you get the beginning of those up, you'll hear the whole thing. If you don't get the beginning up, they'll always ask for more, and it'll always be too loud at the end. So with that in mind, let's go back here and ride no, let's don't ride the bus. Let's mute everything but the strings. Let's ride the strings as if the strings were the only thing in there. So let's mute the wood, mute the brass, mute the perk, and then this will also help us to, eliminate problems like the strings didn't have enough verb on them. So let's go back over here to the work verb. Yeah, so let's add a little bit more love to the Altiverb stereo. Has some really, really nice, and that default right there. Here's another good thing about actually, yeah, and then as you adjust, you can get it to, I think every time you release something, it'll, let me just listen to that in stereo. We'll pull the output down just so let's do that to the back in mono. I don't think we missed anything here, so I'm gonna maybe a skosh too much verb comparatively. I'm gonna split the difference. So I'm going to pick it up here where I left off, but I'm going to write it by itself. There's a good example right there of like doing the attack thing. So let's do this then. Let's take this track and let's go back to the bus here.
Okay.
Pull the bus up. We'll pull the bus up like say 2 dB, and then I'm going to ride these down 2 dB. And then see if there's a problem here. I'm not too concerned about that. Now let's put the whole orchestra in Okay, so if we were to go back and put the vocals in now.
What he says he will do. He'll fight your battle. I defender. I defender. His name is faithful. I defender. Always come.
So that's pretty much how I ride an orchestra. Keep it from getting overwhelming. eliminate what you don't absolutely need, keeping in mind that you can always add it back. In this example, we took the strings and decided that there wasn't enough low strings in it. We only used one set of room mics. We didn't use any direct except for the low bass, the contrabass stuff, and we decided that that balanced the blend out. And then we rough mixed every section, and then we got in there and wrote the rides from every section, and then we kind of blended everything together. It probably could still use a little bit of tweaking, but you know, it's a taste thing. But that's pretty much how we should do the rest of the songs. Hope that helps you mix orchestra better.